In Miami, a man-made island with only 41 homes has just produced a $170 million sale. Reports say the buyer is Mark Zuckerberg. The address is Indian Creek, a place so private that its nickname became more famous than its real name, Billionaire Bunker. This is not a tour of a private house. The home is still under construction, and public information is limited. This is the story of what the deal reveals. Why some of the richest people on Earth no longer buy a view, a room count, or even a mansion. They buy control over the road that leads to it. Indian Creek sits in Biscayne, near Miami. Forbes describes it as a 294-acre barrier island, with 41 homes and a population of just 84 people. In a city built around access, scale, and movement, that is an almost absurdly small place to call a municipality. The phrase Billionaire Bunker is a media nickname, not an official name. But it works because the island combines three things that are increasingly difficult to buy in a global city: limited supply, waterfront distance, and a controlled way in. The bridge is part of the story, not just a piece of infrastructure. Indian Creek is not merely a gated development. It is an incorporated village with its own police department. That public fact matters because the value proposition is not a decorative gate. It is a small jurisdiction designed around a tiny residential footprint and a very narrow circle of residents. In March 2026, Forbes and Redfin reported that Zuckerberg and Priscilla closed on a home at Indian Creek for $170 million. Forbes described it as a record-setting Miami-Dade residential deal. The important word is reported. The story is built from public real estate reporting, not private access. According to the original construction plan cited by Forbes, the house is expected to include 9 bedrooms, roughly 30,000 square feet, a dock, a pool, an aquarium, and a library with a secret passageway. Those are plans, not a finished house tour, and they should be treated that way. The site itself is reported to be around 2 acres. At ordinary luxury scale, 2 acres can sound modest. On Indian Creek, it means waterfront separation, private docking space, and one of a limited number of lots around the island's golf course. Scarcity changes what a square foot means. A normal mansion can be isolated by a wall. This kind of mansion is isolated before the wall appears. Water creates distance. The island reduces traffic. The bridge concentrates arrival. And the small number of homes means that every neighboring property is part of the privacy calculation. That is why an ultra-prime buyer can pay for a place that seems less spectacular on paper than a giant estate elsewhere. The asset is not only the building. It is the difficulty of recreating the exact combination of bay, bridge, limited plots, local services, and distance from public circulation. A number like $170 million is not just a price. It is a signal to the market. It tells other buyers that a new reference point exists. On a place with only 41 homes, every record sale can shape the expectation around the remaining addresses. Public reporting has long linked Indian Creek with wealthy and high-profile residents, including Jeff Bezos, Carl Icahn, and other business figures. The point is not celebrity gossip. In ultra-prime real estate, the neighboring ownership pattern itself becomes part of what a buyer is purchasing, a shared threshold of discretion. For decades, privacy meant a taller hedge or a longer driveway. Now it can mean layers. A buyer might want a private dock, a limited local road network, an island perimeter, and a place where visitors cannot casually wander through. The modern luxury feature is not more decoration. It is fewer accidental encounters. There is a paradox here. The more recognizable the owner, the more valuable invisibility becomes. A public figure can be followed everywhere online, yet still seek a place where the physical world arrives in controlled stages. That is the appeal of an address like Indian Creek. That unfinished state makes the story more interesting, not less. Most luxury videos wait for the perfect interior reveal. Here, the absence of a finished public tour is the subject. The plans suggest extreme amenities. But the real question is what kind of lifestyle needs an aquarium, a dock and a hidden library passage in one private home? At this size, a home is not a single object, it is an operating system. Someone has to maintain the dock, service the pool, manage deliveries, protect the landscaping, coordinate staff, and keep the building running without making any of that work visible. Luxury is often the invisibility of logistics. The word bunker can sound dramatic, but it explains a real shift in how wealth is displayed. The classic mansion was meant to be seen from the road. The new luxury fortress is designed to be hard to approach, hard to map, and easy to leave by water. Its message is control, not spectacle. The deal also fits a larger South Florida pattern. Public reporting in 2026 has tracked a concentration of ultra-luxury transactions around the coast. That does not mean every wealthy buyer is moving for the same reason. It means the region has become a serious marketplace for people who can choose between global cities. Waterfront property remains powerful because it offers several advantages at once. It provides views, a visual buffer, access for boats, and a border that cannot be replaced by a taller fence. On a small island, water does not just frame the house. It makes the entire neighborhood feel like a private room. A record sale does not prove a home is the most beautiful, the most comfortable, or the most important in Miami. It proves that one buyer and one seller found a rare combination worth that amount at one moment in time. In ultra-prime real estate, the story around an asset can be almost as valuable as the asset itself. This is also why the property attracts fascination. A private residence is intimate, yet a price of this scale turns it into public mythology. People want the floor plan, the hidden room, and the owner list. The more the property refuses to reveal, the more the outside world supplies its own version of the story. That is the line a serious luxury documentary has to respect. Public reporting can tell us the reported price, the island's scale, and the broad construction plans. It cannot give us permission to invent private rooms, security systems, or personal routines. The mystery remains valuable precisely because it stays partly closed. Indian Creek is a compact version of a much larger luxury trend. Around the world, the wealthiest buyers are seeking controlled environments, private islands, compound-style properties, residences with private docks, and neighborhoods where the friction of everyday public life is reduced before it reaches the front door. That is the final twist. The house may eventually contain the features that get the headlines: bedrooms, pool, aquarium, private library. But the rarer feature is already complete. It is the island itself, the few addresses around it, and the fact that most people will only ever see it from the water or from the air. The difference between an ordinary compound and Indian Creek is not one individual amenity. The island creates an invisible lobby. Before a guest sees the house, they see water, a bridge, the country club, low traffic, and the distance between lots. Geography does some of the work that a taller wall would have to do elsewhere. That kind of scarcity has a different resale logic. A beautiful house can be copied. A view can be improved. But a plot inside a tiny island municipality cannot be manufactured once every lot has an owner. The buyer is paying for a building today, but also for a position in a map that cannot easily be expanded tomorrow. For the public, that invisibility creates a strange attraction. We are used to luxury being advertised through glass walls, grand entrances, and social media. Indian Creek reverses that equation. The less a private address reveals, the more it becomes an object of speculation. Secrecy is no longer the absence of marketing. It becomes the marketing. Zuckerberg's reported $170 million mansion is not interesting because it has a secret passageway on a plan. It is interesting because it shows where luxury is heading, beyond size, beyond decoration, toward separation, curated access, and a private world that begins long before anyone reaches the front door. Luxury exclusive follows the private worlds, record assets, and extraordinary architecture that most people never get to see clearly. If you want to be a billionaire, like, subscribe, and comment. God bless you.